Welcome in the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch NFL podcast. I'm a little bit less enthused as Andrew Schnicker is, as the NFL season is coming closer and closer to an end. We will do a Super Bowl episode. We'll see if we get enough five-star reviews and comments on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, new followers on YouTube, and maybe we'll do a props episode. We'll see. Um, but we got a big Sunday of football coming up. They will decide our Super Bowl entrance. Will basically crown me a pool champion or not. Um,
Who do you need?
I have the Broncos and the Rams, with the
Okay.
Rams winning the Super Bowl, and I feel pretty good about that. The problem is there's a little bit of news surrounding the Denver Broncos heading into this early game. We'll go in order of kickoffs, and we'll also give out some best bets end of show. I have not had a great start to the playoffs. I feel like I felt really good about wild card weekend. That did not go great for me. And then my best bet last weekend was the San Francisco 49ers. And they basically lost the game on the first initial kickoff. So we're trying to get back to this drawing board a little bit, talk a little bit about where lines have started, where they've moved, where they've finished, all those sort of things. Andrew Korschnicker, how did you feel about last weekend? We're, of course, going to discuss the teams playing in this
Yeah,
round.
I well, I have two questions before we go into next or into this week. One, there's news around the Broncos. Huh,
Yes,
interesting.
there is.
And what did you think of the form of the 49ers kicker doing the slide tackle attempt on Rashid Shaheed?
I
He
thought it,
missed.
I thought it was totally worth it.
It was a
And
good
was
effort.
a brilliant. I'm surprised more people haven't done that before, but seemed like um the only chance that Rashid Shaheed had to be tackled was by ulterior motive means, all by any means necessary. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, as the game started, the Seattle Seahawks returned a kickoff for a long touchdown. But there's a second game. We're going to start in Denver. We currently have New England Patriots, a 4.5 point favorite, totals 42.5. We've seen this number climb from 41.5 when I first saw it, and the spread is kind of hung where it is. And it's the biggest underdog, I think, a one seed has ever been in the playoffs. Would make sense because they're at home by definition. But the big news is that the Denver Broncos are going to be without their quarterback, who broke his ankle on like the second to last play of overtime, it seemed. I didn't even notice it. But when the Denver Broncos knocked out Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, do you have any parting thoughts for Josh Allen? Because I got to say, I owned him on two fantasy teams this year of my three. Did not really enjoy my seasons as only one made the playoffs and earned
Mhm.
exactly zero playoff wins. So kind of similar to what he did, except actually he came back and beat my best bet last weekend with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I really liked and still probably would make that bet 100 times. So any parting words on the Bills, or do you want to just get straight to the Broncos?
Well, I think we can all. I think everyone's interested to see what they do at the head coach. Um, Josh Allen. I think what's most disappointing to most to people is I think unless you're a Broncos fan, you're probably rooting for Josh Allen, uh, and so it just gets worse whenever Bo Nix is now out for the season because you're like, oh my gosh, so now we're cheated out of another good game on paper, right? We'll see. We'll definitely dive into it a little bit more. And so yeah, I think they've got to find somebody. Well, I don't know which way they need to go with it. I think a lot of the trend is to hire offensive minded guys because the league is so driven by quarterbacks and by offenses that if you have a defensive minded coach and you keep getting in coordinators that are successful, then they're going to get plucked away as head coaching jobs. Whereas if you get the offensive mind to be your head coach, then uh, you know he'll stick around. So I would assume they would look offensive minded for that. I that press con we're recording this on Wednesday. The Bills held a press conference. I don't know if you saw it was like bizarro. Like just throwing Keon Coleman under the bus. Like Brandon Bean, who's the GM, was there, the owner, Pagula.
Yep.
So
He's more worried about his daughter playing the Australian Open.
I saw that she
I didn't.
advanced.
I mean, she's. I think, one of the favorites to win it. But also, literally any woman can win a WTA major. It does not matter if you were seeded, unseeded, anything like that. Would you think would mean it's a really, really great sport to bet? But I haven't had a ton of
Oh,
great luck on tennis since Wimbledon 2019.
goodness.
I'm gonna guess that they go defensive because they know their offense is set, but we'll see. I think in the best interest of time, let's go to Denver Broncos. So
Okay.
Bo Nix, I thought was really good against the Bills. A lot using his run tool, scrambling, running for first downs, sliding sometimes unnecessarily too early. But then I guess if you break your ankle, then maybe it made sense when you didn't slide later in the game. I think so. Jared Stidham will start. Breaking news. You heard it here first on the Betting Pitch Apple Podcast and on Spotify. 5-star reviews and comments are good for us to do potentially a Super Bowl prop episode. Plus, if you follow on YouTube, that would be great. And of course, on Instagram, where you can see our reels. What do we think about Jared Stidham, who hasn't thrown a pass since 2023? It is 2026, last time I checked.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be spectacular. So, a lot of Sean Payton offense though is check downs and getting the running back, receiving game going. So, I mean, Bo Nix was a different element. He was willing to push the ball down the field, sometimes to his own detriment. But I don't know if it. I think this is a situation that probably Sean Payton is just like eating up. To be the underdog like this at home with really a team that's driven by its defense. The only weak link is one defensive back in the secondary on that side of the ball, at least. So, I saw that this opened at like 5.5, and then we saw a little bit of buy down, and some of the podcasts and things I listen to with recaps, and I will say that's a big part of anyone that's doing this to try to make a profit is you got to kind of find the national narratives and get a pulse for that. And the immediate reactions were just like, oh my gosh, this spread is going to be 7.5, 8, just like really uneducated guesses. But I think there is that perception that this game is, not interesting because of the Broncos quarterback situation. And I think it's extremely interesting from both sides of it. I being at home, knowing this situation, this is a very unique type of handicap. It hasn't happened very often in the league. Yes, hello. Griffin's camera again, getting ready to grow.
Zooming in, baby.
So
zooming.
I want to stay on the Broncos and get your thoughts there, and then I have some other opinions on the Patriots. But I like what we're doing here, breaking it down team by team.
I'm pretty concerned about their quarterback not throwing a pass since 2023.
Well, sure, of course.
Do you know how many backup quarterbacks are paid more than Jared Stidham in the NFL?
Oh goodness.
Speaking of national narratives,
I don't know, like 15.
0. He's the highest paid backup.
He's the highest paid,
and apparently has been in the Sean Payton system, but hasn't played. Clearly, hasn't thrown a pass in 2023. I think a lot because developing a young quarterback, you're not giving him any plays off. Essentially,
he wasn't awful with the Raiders because he got a couple spot starts. It wasn't great.
Do you know how many career wins he has?
2, maybe.
I think it's 1. So this would be a pretty big second victory. So at least he's not a virgin. But
hey, before we
might
go,
have been touched for the very first time. What?
Oh, God. Do you know who was backing up Jared Stidham?
I do know Sam Ellinger, who I'm rooting to start. But if that happens, it's probably a bad sign for
Can you imagine?
Broncos. That'd be awesome.
Can you imagine?
Sammy E just riding the Denver Broncos train to the Super Bowl, whether he's taking snaps or holding clipboards, who knows? Yeah. Maybe he'll be active. The Broncos now are all defense all the time, and that's good for them because that's what they've been. The Sean Payton offense is a lot of swing passes of running backs, and trying to figure out which running back he'll use is impossible, but that's not really what we're looking for here. At some point, this spread, 5.5 is larger than 4.5, but still feels quite big for a road favorite of this magnitude, especially considering how many times the Patriots have won in the playoffs in Denver.
Probably never.
I believe it's 0, including the last time that Peyton Manning was
Yeah.
home underdog and won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady went in
Yeah.
there and they lost as to me, a more competent team. The problem is, before we get to the Patriots, I guess we'll get there soon. Well, so I'll stick with the Broncos. I don't really know if their offense is going to function with a guy who hasn't played in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that worries me a lot. It's like one thing if it happens in mid game and there's nothing you can do about it, but we've got a week to analyze this, plenty of podcasts to listen to, especially on the Betting Pitch Podcast Network. Um, I just don't know how good I feel about backing Jared Stidham because if he gets in a hole, that's a big problem. If he's ahead, that's the ideal scenario. But maybe it's time to. I don't think that you're changing your tune like the Broncos defense all of a sudden gets better because they don't have a quarterback anymore. I would assume they get worse because they're likely in worse field position, on the field more, all those sort of things. But the Broncos defense looked pretty good, whether it was Josh Allen being lackadaisical and loose with the football or if it was them causing problems. I think they did a fair amount of that. And I guess so. Give me your overall thoughts on the Broncos before we move to the Patriots.
I think the defense is good enough to cause problems. Um, and really, the if I were Sean Payton, if I well, I wouldn't. I'm not going to say. If I were a coach for the Broncos, and Jarrett Stidham would know this. Like, there's no ego to this situation. I don't think. I'd say, hey, you see what the Houston Texans did last week? See what CJ Stroud did? Don't do that. Just be a game manager. Your defense is good enough to keep us in this game, and we'll see what happens. You don't need to press. You don't need to do more than uh, you know take a sack if you need to take a sack. And I
But
haven't
this is
looked at
my
the weather.
shot.
Do I?
Not Sean Payton. This is my shot. I haven't started in 3 years. This is my shot to
No, 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 no.
bring glory to the Stidham family
Hey,
name at
guess what?
Auburn
You know
and at
what?
Baylor or whatever.
You're going to be a trivia. You're going to be a legend in Denver if you just manage this game and let the defense take control. You'll have your chances. You'll have your chances during this game to make an impact. But you're not going to win it in the first quarter, but we can definitely lose it in the first quarter. That's what I
Yeah,
would say.
I don't know. You want to put those negative thoughts in Jared Stiddy's hands,
Yeah, man,
but
he's a seasoned vet. He knows how to handle that.
yeah, he's been carrying a clipboard for a while. Now for the Patriots, you referenced C.J. Stroud, who I was calling for in the second quarter to get benched.
Right.
And
Texans they're just an embarrassment.
I mean, he kind of came out at a halftime a little bit better, and then went back to his. Well, I guess he didn't throw 8 interceptions in the game, but
Yeah,
it seemed like he was threatening there for a while.
right.
Um, and the Patriots, I mean, they basically couldn't block against the Chargers, still won handily.
Yeah,
Could not block the Texans. And
yeah,
now we got another good defense. So either the Patriots just, they faced some bad defense, or excuse me, great defenses and survived, but won handily and then won sort of handily. But the game was fairly close considering how many turnovers the Texans were offering on silver platters.
yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm being stubborn, but I'm not also sure I'm ready to change my tune that New England Patriots playing the worst schedule in the history of football. They've won a couple games in the playoffs. They won a lot of games in the regular season. Both have been at home, and now they're moving across country to a mile high. You've already said that there's some home field advantage in Denver. So I guess give me your synopsis on the Patriots because I'm 0-2 fading them against the spread in the playoffs.
Well, that was my best bet was the Texans last week, and um, the handicap with that is I thought C.J. Stroud was going to go into that game being like, hey, I just turned the ball over so much in Pittsburgh. Like the messaging I felt like going into that game was gonna be like, hey man, let's just like take control of the game. You've got a defense that could literally win a Super Bowl. The weather's gonna be bad. And so anyway, so that was part of the handicap. And
I mean, the Texans were outgained by 7 yards.
yeah, and the thing with it is like, the Patriots, they were careless with the ball. They were able to recover when those mistakes, and so that was a big difference to that. Looking at this, I mean, that's where I start getting uncomfortable. Where I say, am I really, even with Jarrett Stidham, am I about to just lay 4.5 on the road in the AFC Championship game? against a team that, like you said, has played a super soft schedule, and in the postseason has also played a pretty soft schedule. Um, I think all of this is lining up, and yeah, I wonder. I think if based off what we're saying, you would probably want to move quicker. If you want to take the Broncos, you probably should move faster than like waiting until even Friday. When limits open up, I would assume that there will be more at 4.5. Um, it could get really silly, and then who knows where we go. But 4.5 is a big difference, even from 3.5 or 3. I don't know if we get that low. What do you think?
We've already seen a point fall off.
Yeah,
So that certainly is an indicator of where money was initially. But I also think after losing a starting quarterback, is he worth like 7 points? Is that what we're going with
yeah,
quarterbacks
yeah. I was gonna
nowadays?
say, what would you how would you rate the
Because at that
Broncos
opener at 5.5, I was thinking if the Broncos are at home healthy
with Bo
against the
Nix?
healthy New England Patriots, or as healthy as you can be, especially at the quarterback position, like maybe the Patriots have done enough to be around pick 'em, but I can't really see them being a favorite. So to the one seed who has played a much more difficult schedule by default because it's not the easiest in history. I think
I
there's
would.
plenty of questions about the Broncos this whole season, but there are plenty of questions about the Patriots as well.
I think. Yeah, I think with a healthy Bo Nix, I don't know if that's. I think if this game is, I would probably make the Broncos a 1.5, 2 point favorite at home
I
in
think
this
seven
spot.
points is probably standard from a
Yeah,
starter to a backup in the NFL at this point. Could be
this is a
bigger
difference.
depending on how good the quarterback is, but it's not the biggest discrepancy between quarterbacks because no one in this podcast for 21 weeks has been in love with Bo Nix.
No,
So
I do think there is a discrepant. This is not just a Week 12 game. The situational spot of this. Um, I think Stidham could be. I think the downgrade could be anywhere from 5 to 10, based off of if this were just Week 3, maybe it's closer to 10.
what do you think before we move to the next game on our list, which is a little bit more interesting? Or maybe not, but what do you think? So the discussions in the locker room between Sean Payton and Jared Stidham, or in his office, or whatever they do, um, they probably don't reference CJ Stroud directly, but and I don't think most coaches would put negative thoughts into their quarterback's mind to have them think about and stress about. But
No,
what do you think the strategy with Jared Stidham is, or the strategy on offense for the Broncos is in this game?
I mean, I think I wasn't messing around with like when I think that like that's the message is, hey, you have the opportunity to lead this team to a Super Bowl. How crazy is that? You have started a couple games in your career. I'm pretty sure he comes from like a a coaching family. I think his dad was a coach. He's been, he is what? Been in the league, I'm trying to, at least 7 years, right? Is that right? Maybe that's too many years.
He's 29 years old, so it's something about like that.
Like, so I think also right now we're seeing in the NFL, like, you're just starting to hit your peak when you're 29, 30 years old. Sometime, I'm not trying to say that he's about to like go off and become something else, but I think that's the message. Sure, it's not going to be negative, like, hey man, don't make mistakes, but it's like it's the opportunity, but it's also like, let's be smart. And I think he'll understand that message.
So, do you happen to know which team drafted Jared Stidham?
Patriots, right?
Yes, and that's where he started his career, which is quite interesting to me.
Yeah.
Um,
I liked him coming out of college.
I feel like he was pretty good in college. Baylor then to Auburn, if I remember
Auburn.
correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is about his seventh year, so you're right on with that. Four-star recruit, initially committed to Texas Tech from Stephenville and Dallas area, and then went to Baylor. Um, I think the Broncos are going to do everything they can to let their defense win this game. and say, Jared Stidham, we are running the clock down to 1 on every play clock. And I think that's important for a certain total. To the nightcap. And then we'll circle back. We will give our favorite side or total on each game. I still meant to total that up. I just have basically been drinking since 2026 began. It's now the 21st. I'm ready for dry February or something like that. Shortest month of the
Okay.
year, I guess.
Right.
Move to the next one. The Los Angeles Rams visiting the Seattle Seahawks for round 3. Right now, the Rams are 2.5 point underdogs with more juice on the Seahawks side by about 10 cents, minus 115 versus minus 105. Total is 47, juiced a little bit more to under here. I saw a 3 very juiced on the Rams earlier this week. I did not take it.
Yeah.
Numbers fallen on the total from 47.5 to 47. Let's not forget that the Seahawks were about a 1 point favorite at the close to the Los Angeles Rams about a month ago, maybe two
Yeah.
months ago at this point. But we're underdogs for a lot of that week.
Yes. And I
Right.
remember us talking about the total, and I was like, let's go under. And you're like, that sounds terrible. And you were way right.
Well, that would have
That
been,
total at that time, that total was like 41. It was a Thursday night game.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, the Thursday night game.
I think I think on this side, like these are the two teams that are most deserving to be here. I think the two teams that, well, if you look at the odds and throughout the year, the two best teams in the NFC, according to um,
I think
odds makers.
40, I think 42 was the total.
Sounds right. It blew past that. Blew past that. So I don't think the Rams have been overly impressive, really, for like a month and a half. Really, since that game in Seattle. Um, the
Which they were quite impressive for a while and then
it looked like that's
blew a
what I felt like
16
that.
point lead through a lot of crazy shenanigans and such.
Yeah, like, it was like that game kind of like stole their mojo away. And it was one game, and Darnold only had to throw what 18 passes, 20 passes. He looked great. I think that's the main question: the oblique situation, the health, and just like when we were on here talking about concerns about Sam Darnold's ability to win a game. I don't have those concerns about the Rams and Matt Stafford. But yeah, they haven't looked the same since that game in Seattle. I think, yeah, I do you want to? I guess we'll stick with the Rams.
So the
It's
Rams have
hard
not
to,
looked good. They were my pick to win the Super Bowl a long time ago, and I kind of stuck with it
yeah,
because I figured in this pool that it'd be better to go with a team that was not so likely to be picked.
yeah.
I have
I
concerns
think
with Sam Darnold. Um, and I thought the Rams, I mean, they could have lost the first meeting at home against Seattle when Sam Darnold threw 4 picks and somehow Seahawks missed a field goal at the buzzer to win the game.
yeah,
But you could also argue that the Rams should have definitely won the Thursday night game in Seattle. And if not for, but for a punt return touchdown with a 16 point lead, a crazy 2 point conversion, fumble recovery for 2 points
yeah,
by a very, I guess, head on a swivel, Zach Charbonnet, who would not be available for this game due to an ACL injury. So I don't know. That's a huge loss. Seattle couldn't really run the ball most of the season, but they like to run it, and they have one less body that's proven to do that at this point. Might be the Ken K9 show this weekend.
it could be. I think,
You're certainly saying though the Rams have not been playing well, and might this be the most the peak valuation of the Seahawks this season
yeah,
after
I definitely think so.
thrashing the 49ers and killing everyone's Saturday night football
Yep,
plans?
yeah, no doubt. And I also think it's hard to look at like that game in Chicago and truly evaluate like what the Rams offense is. It's kind of a throwaway game. It's terribly cold. I know the wind kind of settled down as the game moved along. Um, but I think sometimes when you see weather like that, you do have to adjust some of your metrics or your evaluation because they're not going to face that in Seattle this week. It seems like it's going to be actually for this time of year in the Northwest seems almost okay. Probably like 40 degrees, no precipitation, no wind. So, and actually we're in Texas. We're going to get some stuff this weekend, but it seems like
I am not happy about that, by the way.
both.
Why
Well,
couldn't have hit any of the days this
I
week?
know it probably affects your party plans.
Oh my
You're
God.
just
Yeah.
out partying every night, so I don't know what you're going
Just
to do.
just trying to get let into bars and not turned away when I walk in like last night.
Denver looks fine too, but we've moved on. Um,
Yeah.
so I think like the offense should play better. I'm just not sold on what this defense is, and but it is a division game. I think if you ask Seattle, like if you gave them a lie detector or whatever, this would be the one team that they would not want to face in this spot. Um, it's just kind of an exciting opportunity to see like what Seattle's coach Mike McDonald is made of. He's answered every question in his second season as head coach, but
Has
now he's like,
he? Has he?
yeah, what has he not answered?
I think he's a extremely conservative defense first mind that has no idea what he's doing with decisions offensively.
I don't
When
know.
he
I mean,
punts, when he
sure,
goes for it,
we can
when he
question some
all
of those
those sort
things,
of
but
things.
they're the number one seed overall. His mo is defense. Like that's what he was known for with the Ravens, and this is
Correct.
by far the
But
best
if you
defense.
are a head coach, you should know, even if you come from a defensive point of view, you need to make the other decisions. I don't have faith in him as a when to go for it, when to punt, when to all those sort of things, guys. I think he's extremely conservative, and I think one of the most trustworthy assets is on the other sideline. We've already mentioned that the Rams defense is questionable, but they're facing a very limited offense compared to what the Rams can do. Uh, how do you stop the Seahawks? You go try to defend number 11. I don't know what else is out there. They can't run the football. They have a quarterback who sees ghosts. Like, I don't know. I've been pretty down on Seattle, I'll say. Probably one of the pushes of my life was that Seahawks Rams Seattle -1 way back when.
Mm.
Wow. But
I mean, I don't know. It's like we just got done talking about this Seattle's defense
is legit.
fundamentally with that defensive line can get pressure on anybody. Um, and
Well,
so like that's to me, it's okay. We can maybe quibble about in game decisions, but although like I don't know if there are that many. I think most defensive minded coaches are going to be more conservative,
sure.
and I want to if whatever the head coach specializes in, I want that side of the ball to be absolutely elite because that to me shows like okay, they at least know what they're doing. Um, if your specialty is offense and your team is bottom tier on offense, that's a problem. So I definitely think like similarly that Seattle could go to the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold not having to do all that much. Um,
Well, if you're
so
so, I agree, and there's probably not many scenarios, but in a 2.5 point spread on the road at a home venue,
yeah,
all of those choices are going to be that much more important. And I
for sure.
certainly want the road head coach catching 2.5 in that scenario. All things else being equal, of course they're not because the Seahawks defense has been awesome. You
Yeah,
said they can get pressure, and in the NFL, if you can get pressure, you can win every football game, and it's really not anything else. Nothing else in this game is more important.
yeah.
And that's why I've already begun the almanac of offensive line metrics. Just kidding. I haven't, but I'm planning to for next year to try to pay a lot more attention about offseason moves and basically trying to use the soccer stratagem, which I've used, which is, hey, this is a normal lineup. Who's not available in it, and why are they not available?
Why are they not here? Yeah,
And I'm going to be doing that a lot with offensive lines as I prepare for Betting Pitch NFL podcast next season,
I love it.
2027.
I love it.
Um,
What a time! Can you believe we've almost gone through a whole? I don't. I think we only missed one episode.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it was like the literal last week of the season. It helps when I don't go on Italian trips, and
yeah, that's true.
because that was a little bit challenging with that type of time change.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? Any other thoughts about Seattle in this spot? I mean,
So
I think
I am pretty negative on their offense.
of
Sam
course, yeah.
Darnold has done nothing to prove. He throws a great football, and I'll say that, and I have since I watched him live do it against us when he played for USC and took us in double overtime and broke my heart there. I'm not. I like him though, and I want him to succeed. It might be our similar coloration or things of that nature, but um, I just I feel like when I've watched them, the four picks day in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
I somehow still won my bet on Seattle because they lost by two and a 2.5 point spread. Might have had three, but I just don't. I mean, I'm definitely concerned about whether while the Rams have been leaking oil for the last 2 months, but I also feel like having a Seattle ticket in that Thursday night game when I was like, well, I don't deserve this. I lost. And then seeing them make this miraculous, heroic type of comeback, which I think a lot was self inflicted by the Rams and also
Yeah.
hinged on a late 2 point conversion, which certainly would not be covering the spread in this 2.5 point number right now. I think the Rams, I mean, or excuse me, to answer your question about Seattle, they have a questionable quarterback. They haven't been able to run the football, and they've got just one incredible wide receiver who is probably going to be number one, two, and three on the scouting report for the Rams, and they're going to do everything they can to keep
Yeah.
JSN as quiet as possible. Can they do that? I don't know. Um, but I think it's really a Seahawks defense, which is awesome and probably won't give up many points. And they're at home, but I care less about home field advantage than I ever have before. And
Mhm.
there's a lot that I trust in the Rams. Quarterback, they got two great wide receivers. They can run the football. They have a head coach that I prefer in this matchup, head to head.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't great, but they're not, to me, going up against an offensive juggernaut. So I feel like that can be something we kind of look past.
I totally agree. I think those are all good points. Um, I think that's a lot of like the talking points for most of this week is going to be about how, yes, the Seahawks won that game, but the Rams gave it to them and let them back into it. Um, if you had to rank these like the four teams that are left, and you had to rank them 1 through 4, what would your rankings be?
Jeez. Four, the Denver Broncos.
Yeah,
Three, the New England Patriots. Two, Los Angeles. Nope, the Seattle Seahawks. And one, the Los Angeles Rams.
that's okay. I think 2 and 3 is where I know that you picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl, so I was assuming you're gonna. I think
I
it's
almost didn't.
fascinating. The Seahawks Rams situation. Like I think it's number one and number two in the entire league, and so that makes it just super exciting to see this matchup for a third time. Yeah, I it's we're still 2.5 weeks away from the Super Bowl, but if Seattle makes it, I could see myself getting pretty involved with the Seahawks against either of these teams. Although I guess like if it's Broncos, that's like I think the spread like the current spread out there I think is like 8.5, which so then I'm probably not getting involved. But yeah, like
Just some money
8
line parlays out there, you know?
minus if so these they're the look ahead matchups are all out, and it's
We don't need to talk about them because I'm going to make them myself afterwards.
oh,
But
okay. Sorry, sorry,
it's all
sorry.
good. It's all good. Um,
Um,
a lot can change certainly with some perception, and if the
yep,
Denver Broncos do upset the Patriots, then that number might not be around.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
time for the ultimate best bet portion of the show. We give our best bets. We put them out on Instagram Reels at the real underscore G Warner, on YouTube Shorts at the real underscore G Warner, and of course, this podcast episode will be up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Betting the pitch, and make sure you come back for our Super Bowl episode coming next week, and maybe a props episode if we get enough 5-star reviews, follows, likes, all those sort of things. I want to thank new subscribers as well because those are very important to us. And I had the names in front of me, and I have them back again. Christopher Douglas, Allison McIntyre, Paul Mallon, Fallet Mack, the Dirty Sheets, Alex Alejandro, Vim Vitens. I don't know why the sheets are dirty, but thank you for coming in. Also, a new Patreon subscriber as well. And
Nice.
it's not a real name, but it is something. And it is Mr. Biscuits. So, it's just in this world of handles and all these sort of things, I guess that's where we're at. So
Yeah.
let's do our best bet portion of the show. Andrew Singer will lead us off as always, and then we'll make our side or total picks on these games this weekend.
Okay. This is the obligatory. There are two freaking games this week, so um,
Bet them all.
I mean, like, we're working with a pretty small, limited amount of selections here.
Mm.
Uh, but like, this isn't me going out on a limb to like told you so moment. I truly believe that this makes the most sense to me. Um, let's take the Broncos plus 4.5 at home.
I'm going to give the Los Angeles Rams 2.5 point underdogs, but I'm going to buy it to 3 at the minus 120, 25, probably what's priced now currently.
Yeah.
But I'll be waiting for that 3 to appear. If it doesn't, I'll play a 2 rather than waiting or grabbing 2.5 now. If it stays at 2.5, I'll buy it to 3. If it gets to 3, which I'm waiting for and hoping for, I will play that probably up to minus 130 or so, but just really want to have that push. And if they lose by 2, I'll win a little bit less because I risk the same on every bet that I make the NFL. For game picks, you've gone with Denver Broncos as your plus 4.5 as your ultimate best bet. Is that your selection for that first one? I will go.
Let's. Oh, you want me to? But I think I'll do a little split there. I'll say Patriots win the game, but
okay. For my pick in that game, I'll go under 42.5.
Yeah,
and in the nightcap, I've already selected the Rams. What would your pick be in that one?
I would take. I'd probably take the under. Yeah, I'd
47.
Go under 47.
Under 47. Okay. That is this episode for the Betting the Pitch NFL podcast, the penultimate of the season, potentially, unless we get a lot of feedback on the social media channels. Andrew Schnicker, it's been a pleasure, and we got one more episode. Can't wait to the Super Bowl, and honestly, can't wait till Sunday. I just hope that I'll be able to be out and about, because if there's an inch of snow in Dallas, this whole place will be shut down. Probably cars on fire, and potentially like gridlock.
You're not going anywhere this weekend, man.
I'm so sad.
Better buckle up.
It is the worst time for this. So I might just have to get drunk tomorrow night or tonight. I don't know. But we'll talk to you soon on the Betting Pitch Podcast Network. Talk to you very soon. Go Rams, Broncos, underdogs.